first. I'm Dr. Enoch Choi. We used to live around the corner, so we would have gone to your school if we stayed around here. We used to live just up Charleston at El Camino. You guys know where the Jiffy Lube is? That's where we used to live in an apartment right back behind there. And then we moved to San Antonio and Alma, so we live right around the corner. We used to live right around the corner. I'm Enoch Choi. I'm a doctor that takes care of some of you guys. You might have seen me over at Palo Alto Medical Foundation. I see people in urgent care. You guys know that when you have a bump or a bruise or a cut, they need somebody to sew it up or set a fracture or something if you sprain something. I'm the kind of doctor that sees you in the clinic. And these are my children. And I wanted them to introduce themselves to you. Natalie, what's your name?
Natalie.
How old are you?
10.
And Aiden, what's your name?
My name's Aiden and I'm 8.
And so we all brought the cards that you guys wrote for us to the people who you see back in back of us. We have pictures of the children that you gave us cards to bring to. And before some of you came, we talked about where Cambodia is. Cambodia is in a place long way west. If you've ever been to Hawaii, that far and double that distance out west towards Asia, where someone who knows where Vietnam is right next to Vietnam. And these are people who are in a very poor place. And so we wanted to tell you a little bit about the people, and I wanted to let my kids tell you what they observed. So let's start with Natalie. And Natalie, what did you love? What did you like most about Cambodia?
The puppies at the orphanage.
And the puppies at the orphanage were just brand new, right? And what was so fun about them?
I don't remember.
Oh, you don't remember that they were, the mama was trying to push the puppies away and that you rearranged them so that the puppies could suckle at the mama? Remember that?
No.
You don't remember that? And you remember how hot it was, so it was nice and cooler underneath the bed that they were hiding underneath?
Mm-hmm.
And Aiden, at that orphanage, you had something really fun that you enjoyed doing. What did you enjoy at the orphanage?
Making a new friend.
Who was that new friend? What was his name?
Him.
We'll see Hin coming up in a second here. I'll point him out to you. What was so cool about Hin?
Well, the first thing I thought was cool was he made little sculptures out of grass.
Wasn't that neat that he could make, they don't have a lot of toys, so they just took grass and they made toys out of the grass. What else was so cool about Hin?
Well, it was fun playing soccer with him.
Because they had a ball that they kicked around their orphanage, right? And you had fun kicking the ball around while we were taking care of people?
Yeah.
What else was cool about
Well, it was fun seeing the chickens he raised.
They raised chickens, and you noticed something else that they did on their orphanage too. Something that we like to do in our front yard, right? Remember them growing?
Grow. I forgot. No.
Did they raise some crops, or did they plant a garden or something? No? Okay. And what was fun about him? What was so cool about him? He tried to dance around, and he had a favorite dance.
The name of the dance he did was Whoopin' Gangnam Style.
Gangnam Style, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys like to do Gangnam Style. I bet you guys know Gangnam Style. Can you believe that kids over in Cambodia, they watch the video on YouTube, and they can do Gangnam Style too?
Yeah.
Oh, here's Hin right here. And you'll see a picture of Hin with Aiden in a moment. You might have passed already, but there's Hin as well again. These are the Christmas gifts that we gave Hin. And that's Aiden. Aiden, what are you doing right now, listening to that person with a stethoscope?
I'm listening to her lungs, and she had pneumonia, I think.
And what did that sound like?
it sounded kind of rough.
Sounded like. And what did we do for them when they have pneumonia?
We gave them medicine.
What kind of medicine did we give them?
I'm not sure.
Do you remember what kind of medicine that you took this week?
No.
Well, we gave them antibiotics that kills bugs. And if they can kill the bugs inside their lungs, they get better faster so they don't get sicker and they can breathe easier. And here's another doctor listening to the hearts and lungs of another child, and me listening to the lungs of a child. So, what was, do you remember, Aiden, where we were here? Why are there wooden planks underneath us?
It's because it was a floating village.
And where was this floating village? It was, how long did it take us to get to this floating village?
I think about 2 hours.
Yeah, it took us 2 hours from the city to drive to row all the way out here, and you can see these kids who are rowing the other children around on the boats. Do you remember seeing the little children on the boats?
Yes.
And what did they do to play with you?
Well, one of them gave me a math problem and I solved it.
So that was so cool because you couldn't speak their language. Their language is Khmer. And so Aiden and Natalie didn't know how to speak their language, but they could do math problems together. Can you guys do math problems? I'll bet you can do math problems. So if you don't know their language, they know numbers and you can do math problems together. Isn't that fun? And what else did you do on the boats?
Well, I looked at the fishes on the side of the boat.
Natalie, did you notice what they were doing on the side of their boat since they have to live on their boats?
Peeing?
Yeah, they had to pee off the side of their boats. And what did they do in the water next to where they peed?
Wash dishes?
Yeah, they were washing dishes in the same water next to where they were peeing. And where did the water that they drank water from, where did it come from?
The water.
Yeah, the same water that they peed and they washed the dishes from next to. Yeah, so it's tough if you don't have running water, right? Because they just live on the boats. They just get the same water from the same place. And you drew that all in a nice painting. I don't know, we have a picture of that painting. There's Natalie, and this is us getting ready to get on the boats. So you drew a little sketch of all that stuff. What else did you see in the water, Natalie?
Fish?
Yeah, the fish is cool, huh? What else did you see in the water?
Gunk?
Yes, there's a lot of gunk in the water. Because what happens if you don't have a trash service? You guys, some day of the week, a big trash mobile comes along, right? And the garbage collectors come and take the cans of trash off from your front door and empty them into the big trash mobile, right? And then they bring it out to the dump, right? But if you live on the water, where does all the trash go? In the water, that's right. So we saw all the gunk of the trash in the water because there's stuff that doesn't dissolve, you know. So here's fun little kids who are rolling around enjoying this. This is one of the children that had a problem with their heart. And here's some more babies that we were taking care of. And this is how they get fresh fruit and vegetables. A boat comes up and they trade it for the fish that they catch. And these are how the children are. They're running around naked. And they're smiling and happy, even though they don't have any toys or anything. This is the lake, a picture of the lake that we were out on. And you can see even very young children are riding their boats to push them around and bring them around. They live in these little huts on the boats. And this is our pharmacist giving out medicine. And some more children and their parents that brought them, and children. Some of them have kind of big bellies because they don't eat enough protein. You guys have to eat enough meat and beans, and that protein is really helpful because some of the children here didn't have enough protein. Sorry? If there's any questions that this is a newborn. This is our youngest patient. And here's a card. This is the card. This is the village chief's son, and that was one of the cards that you guys made to bring over. And we thought it was so cool that you guys made a card that matched the color of his t-shirt. So we gave him the exact card, same card. And on the outside it was matched his t-shirt, and the inside was bright red, and he really liked that. He thought that was really cool. And it was perfect because you guys made the village chief's son really happy because he was really fun and young and had a great time. These are all the children that at the orphanage they made a presentation for us. They sang in English to tell us about how happy they were to see us, and they were taught by a missionary here. These are the missionaries that are giving them their gifts. So do you guys have any questions? We've talked for about 10 minutes. If you have questions, if you can tell me what your question is and who you want to ask the question of, I'll repeat it, and then we'll ask. Okay, question over there. The newborn was just born 4 days ago, and before we saw them. And the newborn, they have to take a boat. They were fortunate enough to have $40 to take a boat back to Siem Reap. The 2-hour trip takes $40. It seems like a lot of money, right, to take a boat ride, but that's how much it is because there's not many people that drive the boats between where this village is. And so the mama had to pay $40 to go to the hospital, stay there to have the baby, and then the day after she had the baby, she gets sent back to her home here on the floating boats, and the baby grows up floating on the boats. And so, did you see how the mama was all bundled up? You'll see her in a moment, just again. And it is like 90 degrees. You know how hot it gets in the summer? The hottest day in Palo Alto is how hot it was here. And it was 100% humidity. You know, the most humid day that you get in Palo Alto, that's how humid it was. And if you look at this mama, she is all bundled up because for them, it's really cold. This is their cold season, and you can see that you'll see in a second, she's in a turtleneck, and she's got a jean jacket on, and she's got all these clothes, because for them, it's pretty cold. But that was a very young baby, and fortunately, the baby was very healthy. She was just worried because she was so happy to have a doctor around, because they don't ever see doctors. No doctors come out to visit these people, because it's so far away. There's another question?
How does not eating that much protein?
So they have a lot of fish that they trade for rice, and so the children eat a lot of carbohydrates. You guys like carbohydrates, like you like bread and you like pasta and things like that. That's carbohydrate. Here's the mama, and you saw her all bundled up. So if you don't have enough protein, you need a balanced diet, because if you don't have enough protein, then your body can't build very important parts of your body, like your cells depend on protein. Even your DNA, what makes your body be able to make more of itself, its genes and things, are made out of protein. And so your body needs protein, but they don't have a lot of protein. So when they lack protein, then they get sick and they can't grow very well. And if you noticed pictures of Hin, he's already much better off. Hin is 12 years old, and he was the same size as Aiden. Aiden, 13, he was 13. Aiden, stand up on the chair. And Aiden is 8 years old, and Hin was about the same size of Aiden, about 5 years older than Aiden, and he was already better because in an orphanage, he has better nutrition, he has protein, he has things, and but because Hin has worms in his belly, and he doesn't get quite enough nutrition, he's even not as well off as people here. So that's why it's really important to eat a balanced diet here. You have a question?
How many kids did you see?
We saw a lot of kids. Do you remember all the kids that we saw at the orphanage and then afterwards, Aiden?
Yeah,
There were 30 kids at the orphanage, right?
I think.
There were 30 kids at the orphanage, and we saw them in about an hour, and then we saw everybody who wanted to come from the neighborhood, so we saw about 300 children that day. That was just one day, and we were there for a week. So some people ask, what can you do in a week? Because, you know, you guys went on vacation, right, recently? At least we were on vacation last week. And in a week, what can you do? Well, we saw a lot of people. We saw hundreds and hundreds of people that never get a chance to see doctors out on the lake because they're so far away. And then in the orphanage because they're too poor and they don't have any money to pay for doctors. So we got a chance to take care of a lot of people who never get a chance to see a doctor. Another question?
Why was the mom so bundled up.
Do you guys want to answer why Mom was so bundled up?
It's because for them, it is, they think it's cold because it's usually really hot there. Well, it was their cold season, but for us, it was pretty hot. So they thought it was pretty cold because usually it gets really, really, really hot, but it wasn't as hot as usual.
That's a good answer. Is there another question?
How do worms get in your body?
The question is, how do worms get in your body? Do you guys know how the worms get in your body, Natalie?
You eat them?
Yeah, you eat them because they come in the food that you eat and in the food that you catch, and they're in the water, and then they get into your belly and they eat your food and they develop that way. So we can give them medicine to kill the worms, and in just a couple months you can see them get much bigger because instead of the worms eating all their food, then their body gets to absorb the food. Another question? You guys made so many cards, and we had some other children from Valley Christian School and from our school, Yuchang International School, where we went, and we made hundreds and hundreds of cards, and every child who came got a chance to have a card. Yes. If we would have stayed for a lot longer, we would have needed to make a lot more cards. Any other questions? Any other questions? Yeah, you were asking?
So did you leave them a lot of medicine?
Did we leave them a lot of medicine? Do you guys remember all the bags that we left there, Aiden? How many bags? How many bags did we leave there?
We left, I think, about, well, what I know is we left more than 50 bags, I think.
We had a lot of bags because every one of the members, we had almost 20 members brought 3 bags each, and they were all filled with medicines. So we brought them, and so we have doctors there that are using the medicine, and we're going to go back and help use the medicine there too. But that's a great question. Another question? Any other questions? Did you see the question is, where did they get all the fruits and vegetables? Did you guys see the boat?
Yeah.
You see the boat that's coming up? So do you guys want to answer where they get the fruits and vegetables?
Well, what I think is, I think they went from their village to the other regular villages to get the food from them.
Because these villagers caught fish, and they would trade it for the fruits and vegetables that would pull up, and they would trade it, but they had to get it from other places that grew the fruits and vegetables. Good question.
Well, was there this other village you said that comes on the fruits and vegetables?
Is there another village that you can buy the fruits and vegetables? Grew it. Yes. Yes, the question is, are there other villages that grow the fruits and vegetables and then that you can trade for? Yes, that's how they come. They're grown somewhere else. They're put on a boat, and they're brought here because these people have to stay here and catch fish, so they trade it for the fish that they catch. Question? When did we go there? Natalie, when did we go there?
September?
December.
December.
We went on our Christmas break just a month and a half ago. Question from someone who hasn't had a question yet? Okay, then question from the same people. Uh-huh.
And why could they get the protein from the fish?
Why? That was a very good question. We asked them the same question. Why didn't they get the protein from the fish they got? Because fish have a lot of good protein. And we asked them, what did they say about how do they think about the taste of the fish that they caught? Do you remember what they said? You don't remember? Okay. They said that the fish tastes muddy. Okay. Can you imagine, guys, if you lived out on a farm and you grew peanuts? You're in Georgia, and you grow peanuts. And every day you have peanuts. You have boiled peanuts, you have fried peanuts, you have dried peanuts, you have roasted peanuts, you have peanut butter, you have peanut paste, you have peanut soup, you have peanut. How much would you like peanuts after a couple days of having peanuts, 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 peanuts? You wouldn't like having peanuts. Well, every day they catch fish, and they catch more fish. They fish, and they fish, catch more fish. So they said that the fish taste muddy because they have muddy water that they catch fish from. So they're just sick of fish. So they don't eat their fish, which is too bad because they really need protein, and they get sick because they don't eat enough protein. But they're sick of their fish, and they trade their fish. So the fish is their money. It's like, do you eat your pennies and your dollar bills? Well, their money is their fish. So they don't eat what they make their money from. So there's another question right here.
What is their main source of food?
Do you guys remember what their main source of food was, Amy?
Well, they had rice and fish.
That's right. They had rice and fish, but they mostly ate rice because rice is inexpensive. They grow a lot of rice in this area, and it's inexpensive. And they can trade for a little bit of fish. They can get a lot of rice, and it fills them up. It makes them full, and they like the taste of it. But it doesn't give them any nutrition. It's like you guys and pasta. Pasta gives you no nutrition, but it tastes good, doesn't it? How do they get all their clothes? Because they're out in the middle of a lake, right? And who is weaving any cloth in the middle of a lake? Not many people are weaving cloth. There's no cotton out here. You know, the cotton comes from China and from other places in Asia. Well, just like the fruits and vegetables that come, other people come with boats with clothes that they trade their fish for. So they and other people. These people are relative. They're very, very poor. They're the poorest people we've seen. I've seen. I've been to a lot of poor places in the whole world, like in the middle of Africa, in the middle of a lot of places. And these are some of the poorest people I've ever seen. So some people from the United Nations and other places will come and donate things. So some of their clothes are donated to them. So people come and they see that you're so poor, then they want to help, just like we went to help, because we want to go and help people who are really poor, who don't have anything. Why are they so poor? So that's a good question. They're living in the middle of this lake, and these people are actually not Cambodian. They're refugees. Who knows what a refugee is? Anybody know what a refugee? What's a refugee? Yes, it's a person who takes refuge. That's a good way to learn a word. If you don't know the name of a word, break it down into the little part of it. And refugee. Refuge means to find a place that will help you and to give you a place to stay, right? Somebody who's nice to let you stay someplace. So a place where you can find refugees go to. So these people are from Vietnam, where they couldn't find much fish. And they came to Cambodia because there's a lot of fish, and they're refugee. They come here and they find that there's a lot more fish to catch. So they are not Cambodian, so they don't have the ability, the government doesn't take care of them. You know, a lot of poor people in places, the government will say, oh wow, we feel like we should help you because you're some of our people. Well, these are not Cambodian people, these are Vietnamese people. And so the government doesn't take care of them. And so the people just sit here without any support, and a lot of them starve, and they're hungry, and they don't have enough food. And so some people come out and help them. Question?
Do they live in the village that you were at, or do they live at a different village?
They live, oh guys, where do these guys live?
In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere
On boats in the middle of a lake.
That's right. They live on those boats that you guys saw. They live on those boats out in the middle of the lake. And this is a big freshwater lake. So sometimes it's a very interesting thing. The boats can't float because the lake dries out. So they put the boats up on stilts. So sometimes you see these boats on 20-foot stilts standing up. If you can imagine the height of how tall the roof is, then you'd see a boat sitting on the top of those stilts. And in the dry season, that's how it looks because the whole river, the whole lake dries up. Quite another question?
When the lake dries up, where did they get their water?
When the lake dries up, where do they get the water? They have to go all the way to the middle where the water is. And it's tough because it's even muddier then. Is that the end of your lunch? No? Yeah? Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you. If you have any other questions and you have more time, come on up. We have all day because we're off school today. But thank you so much for sending your cards. Thank you so much.
How do you end this thing?